You are tuned in to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, and welcome to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Tonight, I'm delighted to welcome Pedram Shojai back to the show. Pedram is an acclaimed Qigong master, herbalist, and talented acupuncturist. He comes from an unbroken line of masters and is an ordained master of Taoist alchemy. He teaches philosophy, meditation, Qigong, and healing techniques to audiences worldwide. His new book is just out, and it's called Rise and Shine, Awaken Your Energy Body with Taoist Alchemy and Qigong. He's also featured in a 3D Qigong series from Jay Widener's Spiritual Cinema series, and both of those are available on his website at www.taoistpath.com, and we'll repeat that again at the end of the show. So let's welcome Pedram back to the show now and find out what we can find out. Hi, Pedram. How are you?
Hi. It's good to be back, Lance.
Oh, good. You're so fun to talk to. You're just so sharp.
Oh, thanks. Never a dull moment talking about these fun things. Yeah.
Boy, well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it's always a pleasure chatting with you. You know, it's we have a good time.
Well, you know, I was surprised to read you have had such an amazing journey. I mean, it just it's typical of the seeker and the finder. Obviously, you found the masters that you needed to find, but it's so full of stories and the search and the journey. And for instance, you sprinkle your book with fascinating stories, and they're all different and interesting. And the one that I liked, one of the ones I liked, was the one about the bus and the chicken. I know you remember which one that is, right?
How could I forget?
Yes. Well, I won't ask you to repeat that on the air tonight, but people will have to get your book to find out what we're talking about.
Cool. You know what I tried to do is I tried to really keep the human level and the fun factor in there, because you know it's really it's one thing to read about the philosophy, it's another thing to go through all the rigorous training and energy work and yoga and all the things that we do to try to improve our lot and wake ourselves up in life. But you know, where the rubber hits the road is life itself, and life becomes the workshop. Yeah. And so these anecdotes and these stories that I kind of wove through the book were to really illustrate how this is a fellow human, going through these experiences.
Right. And you did that quite masterfully, I must say.
Oh, thank you.
And as we both know, many people can be meditating all their lives and still be asleep. It's not quite as likely because there's an intent there to awaken, but people can go through a lot of different avenues, the New Age and various other traditional avenues to awaken and follow this guru in that, and can remain still mired in illusion. However, it seems that the big problem today is that the whole planet is kind of stuck on stupid.
Amen to that.
Yes, and you bring out many of the things that keep us stuck in our illusions, and also ways to bring up the shadow and work through those. Just to give us a general snapshot of what do you feel is happening energetically on the planet as we speak?
There's a lot of zombies walking around, and what's happening is we have gone so long and we've come so far from our origins, if you will. Having an intimate relationship with nature, walking around, moving our bodies a lot, and really keeping the flow of our energy fields vital and vibrant. And what's happening, and what I'm seeing, especially in city folk, is their energy fields are starting to collapse to a degree where there's just not enough consciousness available to them to become even aware of these trance-like mindsets that they're in, and so people are sleepwalking, and it's a big challenge. I mean, you mentioned people, who meditate. I know lots of people who have dedicated, meditation practices, who just basically sit there and put in their hour and get up. And yes, there's some benefit, but one of the things that I really try to emphasize is that meditation is something that is not, say, an application on your desktop computer that you open up and you close, but it should actually be part of your operating system, right?
Yeah.
It's that mindfulness. It's that staying awake and staying aware of what's happening in being in the living, breathing, present moment. And that's a practice that it's just as easy to do as learning how to meditate and sit there for an hour. But I think meditation has been sold or at least represented in the wrong way in the West. And so, people will put in their meditation just like they'll take their vitamin B pills. And that's not necessarily the way it's supposed to work. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
The goal really is to wake up, right? And so the meditation becomes a tool, and it becomes a practice that we use to assess where we're at and whether or not we're running off of subconscious trances and pre-programmed tendencies, or whether we're actually in the moment and inspired and feeling alive and vibrant and awake and fully engaged. And, that is not really the state of most of humanity. I mean, sure, we have our moments. We have, the kids' big football game. We have, the birthdays and the weddings and these kind of flashes that we remember and we feel alive in. But the dreary times in the middle, which is most of our lives, a lot of people are just sleepwalking through. And frankly, it just doesn't have to be that way. There are ways to wake up, and it's not that you have to dedicate your entire life to move up into a monastery, shave your head, and change your, and renounce your family and all these things that people kind of have these preconceived notions about. It's about changing your operating system and waking up to who you are and how you integrate in this workshop we call life.
Well, as you said, part of the condition seems to be the major imbalance that we see all over, and the detachment from all living things, such as nature, for one thing. You're able to tap into the subtle fields and the elementals, and I imagine that you're able to communicate with the divas and the subtle forms of spirit which are all around us. What is your sense of that? What is your sense of the planet's state of awareness and intent at this point, if you had to say?
Well, I would have to say that one of the major problems is the bubble, the sphere, the life-engendering sphere that we all lived in for thousands of years was within this framework of the energy of life that's all around us, we call nature. And so, in the past couple hundred years, we've paved it, we've, chopped it away, we've weed-whacked it, and we've created chemicals to render a lot of these seeds inert, and, all the things that we see that are challenges in our modern world. And so what's happened is, with the natural field somewhat collapsing around us and not giving us the kind of the framework of life energy to dwell in, people really don't have access to other higher sources or other forms of energy that will keep them in check. I mean, sure, you have a spiritual practice, and some people, have are very, very religious and are praying and are tapping into these source energy fields which sustain them, and they're doing okay, right? But what's happening is, with the religious establishment somewhat falling apart, and a lot of, I like to always say it's not God's fault. These guys have really kind of ruined it for the word God, right? And so, the organizations out there and the people and the child molesting priests and all the yucky stuff that we hear about have drawn people away from the religious structure that was there and the infrastructure, so to speak, that was provided in the natural world. We've separated from more and more. So we have really disconnected from a couple major sources of our inspiration or our rejuvenation or recreation. And so people are not tapped into these sources of energy and their food sources and their sleep habits and their exercise habits, and all of these different lifestyle parameters are all kind of out of whack. And what happens is we're not generating the vitality from inside. We're not tapping into the sources from within. And so the system just starts to flicker, right? So the energy body starts to diminish. And as that happens, we lose sight of who we are, our purpose, our divine origins, and our essentially pure spirit and essential selves. And as we start to fall asleep to that and forget, then all bets are off. What else are you going to do on a Saturday night but go to a monster truck rally? And it's just then it becomes about a life of distractions, and it becomes a meaningless life of basically going from one thing to the other, trying to find some sort of pleasure.
Yeah. And of course, as we both know, we each have an element of the shadow, many that have unprocessed shadows and that are stuffed so deep that it comes out in very strange and perverse ways. And then we also have a collective shadow, and that collective shadow seems to be taking the form of a rather imperious matrix of control that it seems to be taking the form of stepping in for our lack of choice, if you want to say it that way. Sure, absolutely. I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and there are so many people that have been brainwashed into thinking that they are less than what they are. You give your power away. The world's a scary place. I need the army and the police to protect me. I don't know how to grow food, so I rely on some agribusiness to provide that for me. I don't know how to survive in nature, so I have to have all these tools. And so what happens is the further and further we get into these abstract realms of not knowing who we are, knowing our origins, and falling into that, then there's all kinds of leverage. And sure, there are forces out there that are doing pretty well on this planet and are directing the politics and the energies and the resources so that there can be a master race and a slave race, if you will. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. The only thing, the only thing that's predicated on is that the slaves stay asleep. Right. So wake up, and the gig is up, and it's that simple and it's that easy. So I don't, I've been around the block. I'm not the oldest guy around, and I'm definitely not, young anymore in that sense. So I've heard a lot of this conspiracy theory stuff and been friends with a lot of people that are very active in that world.